And joining me now to discuss all of this, Mr. Hugh Hewitt, the host of the Hugh Hewitt Show. Hugh, good to see you. Finally, it's Friday, so.
Friday night fights with Don and Hugh. It's
Oh
good to see
my
you,
gosh,
Don.
no fighting, no fighting. But really, just a couple days away. That means we're closer, 4 days away from the big CNN GOP debate in the fabulous Las Vegas. You're going to be a panelist. The focus, of course, foreign policy, national security. You must be champing at the bit about this.
I am, and I'm looking forward. I'm going down tomorrow to Las Vegas, sit down with the CNN team and start preparing how to make sure that the candidates on the main stage and in the undercard all get adequate time, all get good questions, and all talk to each other, not to the panelists. As you know, Don, it's not about us, it's about them, and I think CNN and Salem have put together a good preparation again.
Yep. So you've done, what, 85 candidate interviews since the last time you were a panelist at the CNN debate? That is crazy. That was back in September, 85. A lot has happened.
That's
since,
right, including.
Yeah, a lot has happened.
Including
since then.
Carly Fiorina today.
Yeah.
And Carly Fiorina today made some news, Don. She said she would not be bolting the party because she's actually a Republican. A not so subtle jab at both Donald Trump and Ben
Carson. Right. So then what would you say about the debate? What's make or break for any candidate in particular?
You can't make a big mistake. You can't have a Jerry Ford Poland moment, which from people remember from the 1976 debate with Jimmy Carter. He thought Poland was free, and he refused to budge off of that. So you cannot win and still be competitive in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and into Super Tuesday in the SEC primary on March 1. But you can't make a fall on your face, big mistake, or you could hurt yourself very, very badly. I do think that this will be Donald Trump in the middle with Ted Cruz, who began to square off against him, and Marco Rubio on the other side, and Chris Christie gaining in New Hampshire. It's going to be a pretty sparky evening.
Yeah. You know, I realize that this may put you on the hot seat a little bit, but don't you think some of the candidates, maybe people polling at 2%, 3%, and 4%, do you think that they should get real and really leave the race? Do you think if there are fewer candidates left, then that may help, the GOP to whittle down who actually may be the person to win?
I'm not on a hot seat there, Don, because I think it's up to voters to decide. And when someone like Scott Walker decides it's just not working for him, they decide to exit. And no number of pundits are going to force people out. It's not machine politics anymore. I've been laughing about the brokered convention talk. There aren't any brokers left. There's actually only one corrupt political machine left in America. And I know you don't like me to talk about this, so I brought along a visual aid, Don. There's only one corrupt political boss left. And so there isn't going to be. You don't let me bring up her name, so I have to bring visual aid.
No, that's fine. Every answer is. But Hillary, I have to call you. I have to call you out when you do that. Let me see that shirt.
I'm giving that to you in Las Vegas, Don. But my point is, in the old days, when you had a Lorimer who was the blonde boss of Chicago, or a Thomas Platt who was the quiet boss in New York, they could broker a convention, but they don't exist anymore. You need 1,236 votes on the Cleveland Convention floor to be the nominee. It might be an open convention. It would be the most interesting political event of my life. And I'm going to make my hotel reservations for 2 weeks, not one, because I think it's a realistic possibility.
Okay, let's talk more about the broker convention. Okay, you mentioned Carly Fiorina earlier. You just talked about the broker convention. Ben Carson is saying he's hinting towards that. Here's what he said about that. He said, if the leaders of the Republican Party want to destroy the party, they should continue to hold meetings like the one described in the Washington Post this morning. If this was the beginning of a plan to subvert the will of the voters and replace it with the will of the political elite, I assure you Donald Trump will not be the only one leaving the party. You think is this theater? Did he need some attention? What do you think?
Well, I think he may not have understood what that meeting was about. Sean Spicer, who's the comms director at the RNC, and he happens to be my son's boss, full disclosure, came out today on this network and said, look, the delegates decide. We had a logistics meeting, and the RNC does have meetings about logistics. And I want to stress this for people who support Dr. Carson or Mr. Trump or any of the candidates. Delegates get elected, and they get elected according to state law. They are not bossed around by puppet masters in the back room. There is no establishment that is running this. Someone's got to win delegates, and if you don't win 1,236 delegates, you don't get nominated. So I think there's an incentive for everyone to get in the race, stay in the race, grab as many delegates as they can, and play their cards very well in Cleveland if no one has a majority.
Okay, here's Donald Trump now talking about the whole thing in an interview with, it's going to air on Sunday, State of the Union with Jake Tapper. Watch this.
What do you think about the idea of the brokered convention? When Dr. Ben Carson heard about it, he got very upset, said it sounded like people in power in the Republican establishment were trying to subvert the will of the voters.
Well, you know, I watched what Ben said. I agreed with him 100%. I even wrote him a little note. I thought it was excellent. And frankly, he may be right. I haven't seen it yet. I've been hearing about it. I've been hearing about these closed-door meetings, and I don't like that. That wasn't the deal I made. I signed a pledge, but a pledge was a double deal. They were supposed to be honorable. So we're going to find out. If it's that way, they're going to have problems. But I hope it's not going to be that way. I hope it's not going to be that way.
So you said that Carson may not have understood that meeting. Do you think Donald Trump did?
Well, I think Donald Trump is absolutely right. He signed a pledge, and he has a right to be treated with great respect. He is the front runner by far, 35% in the CNN poll, 35% in the New York Times poll, and he will be center stage, and he'll get the most time as a result. So I think he's right about that. If there was skullduggery, if there was trickery, I'd be the first person to call it out. But if Ted Cruz wins Iowa and then generates momentum, or Chris Christie wins New Hampshire and generates momentum, or Marco Rubio does well on the SEC primary, if they break away and they surprise everyone and they're winning like the Cavaliers, then they get to be the nominee. That's not double dealing. So I think we have to see this play out. But like Donald Trump, I would also be concerned about backroom dealing. It just doesn't exist. It's a myth.
Let me see that shirt you have there.
This is the last corrupt political machine that could actually.
You
broker
look
a
like you're a
convention.
Hillary Clinton supporter holding up that shirt saying vote for Hillary.
I was
Is that
going
what
to
you're
actually
saying?
wear it. I was going to wear this tonight, you know, a little bit higher. But it's for you, Don. I'm bringing it to Vegas for you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll see you in Vegas, Hugh Hewitt. Have a good Friday night. Have a great weekend. See you next week.